And what's going on, everybody? I am Kadarius Washington, and y'all are checking out a special Thanksgiving Eve edition of the CW Six Pack, our weekly little pick segment here where we take some games across the NFL slate and we pick them against the spread. Usually we do this on Fridays with 6 games, but this week, along with our regular 6, we're going to be picking all 3 of the Thanksgiving Day games tomorrow, as well as the Black Friday game between the Bears and the Eagles. And folks, this is a phenomenal slate of games that we have over the next couple of days. And all 3 of these Thanksgiving games have major playoff implications. And I think you can make an argument, folks, that this is the single best slate of Thanksgiving games that we have ever seen, especially given the circumstances as I just mentioned. So let's go ahead and get into the picks. We busted out of our little pick slump from last week and had ourselves a winning week. We went 4-2 in our picks last week. We took the Jets plus 13.5, and by the skin of their teeth, we covered that. Seahawks minus 13.5. That was a loss there. We got burned by that Tennessee Titans garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter for that backdoor cover, so that was a loss. We took the Jaguars minus 2.5. Miraculously, we won that. Cowboys plus 3.5. We won that. Rams minus 6.5. We won that. And then the Panthers plus 6.5. The one time I actually pick my own team, they go out there and do, well, that. But more on that later. But nevertheless, 4-2 last week. Our season total 35, 39, and 1. It's a new week. Time for some new picks. We got a lot of picks to get into, and let's get into it. So starting with the Thanksgiving Day games, game number 1, we've got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. Lions 2.5-point favorites at home. Packers coming off a win against the Vikings, and the Lions coming off of an overtime win against the Giants. And this is a rematch of week 1 where the Packers manhandled the Lions 27-13. And listen, folks, the Lions have had a fairly shaky couple of weeks recently. A rough showing against the Eagles a couple of Sunday nights ago, and having to go to overtime against a Jameis Winston-led New York Giants team. However, Jahmyr Gibbs had a massive game last week against the Giants, rushed for 219 yards, caught 11 passes for 45 yards, and scored 3 total touchdowns. However, he was only held to 50 total yards in the week 1 matchup, but he's rushed for 139 or more yards in 3 of his last 5 games, and this Packers defense has allowed only 202 points this year, and only the Rams have allowed fewer in the NFC. And listen, folks, even though clock management has been an issue with the Packers, I do not think that Matt LaFleur is going to pull a Matt Eberflus and ruin everyone's appetites by mindlessly running the clock out at the end of the game. I still can't believe that happened last year, and we really saw a coach get fired in real time on Thanksgiving. But anyway, folks, whoever loses this game, their chances of winning the NFC North are going to take a hit. And I think this is going to be close, a low-scoring game here. But I like the Lions in this matchup, and I really like this number here at 2.5. And listen, folks, the Lions need this game more because as of right now, they are on the outside looking in. And I trust them in this game, so I'm going to lay the 2.5 here and go with the Lions to get the season split against the Green Bay Packers. All right, game number 2. This is by far the game of the day and probably the game of the week. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Chiefs 3.5-point favorites on the road. Kansas City coming off the win against the Colts, and the Cowboys coming off of that massive comeback win against the Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, folks, this will probably be the highest rated regular season game of all time. I expect 50 million plus people to be watching this game at 4:30 on CBS tomorrow afternoon. And listen, folks, somehow the Chiefs are still alive. I said last week, if they had lost on Sunday, I thought that would have been it for the Chiefs in 2025. But they are still alive, and so are the Cowboys. And many believe that Dallas's defensive issues have been fixed by the whole Quinnen Williams trade. And look, since the trade deadline, Dallas ranks 5th, allowing an average of 288 yards per game. This is a matchup of two elite offenses. Both teams average over 25 points per game. So I think we're going to see plenty of scoring in this matchup here. George Pickens has been absolutely phenomenal this year. And CeeDee Lamb, folks, he has got to clean up the drops. He has had a career worst 8 drop passes so far this year. And on the Chiefs side of things, Travis Kelce has been percolating as of recent. Rashid Rice has been great since he's been back. But the Chiefs, folks, as I've said before, have not been good on the road this year. They are 1-4 on the road this season. This is a desperation game for both of these teams. Both of them need the game to stay alive in their respective playoff races. And listen, folks, I usually don't like picking against the Chiefs, but 3.5 is a key number for this matchup. If this thing was 2.5 or even 3, I would have taken the Chiefs, but I'm going to take the 3.5 and go with the Cowboys. All right, the Thanksgiving nightcap. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore 6.5-point favorites at home. Bengals coming off a loss to the Patriots, and the Ravens coming off of that win against the Jets. And the big story of the game, Joe Burrow is back. He is back after suffering that turf toe injury in week 2, and Jamar Chase is back after he was suspended last week for spitting on Jalen Ramsey the week prior. And listen, despite the Bengals being 3-8, they have an opportunity to walk down the AFC North, which right now the Ravens are at the top of the division. They have the tiebreaker over the Steelers there. And with a win here, the Bengals could be within 2 games of the division, of course, depending on what the Steelers do against the Bills on Sunday. But the Ravens, as I mentioned, are at the top. They're riding a 5-game win streak. But look, Lamar Jackson's been battling a little something since he came back from that hamstring injury a couple of weeks ago. Joe Flacco, to my surprise, has done a remarkable job with the Bengals, but I say Joe Burrow gives this team and this offense that much of a boost. But the defense, yeah. But anyway, this game has track meet written all over it. Both of these defenses are not very good. The ball's going to be flying through the air. King Henry is going to do King Henry things. This feels close, but 6.5 to me feels like a lot of points to lay them with Baltimore. So I'm going to take the points here, and I'm going to go with the Bengals. All right, the Black Friday game. We've got the Chicago Bears taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly, 7.5-point favorites at home. The Bears coming off of a win against the Aaron Rodgers-less Steelers. And the Eagles coming off of that massive choke against the Dallas Cowboys. And listen, the Bears got some steam and some momentum behind them. They're riding a 4-game win streak, and they have sole possession of first place in the NFC North. And listen, folks, the Eagles are going to be very ticked off in this game after that gas pipe against their rival Cowboys, as that offense did a grand whopping nothing in the second half of that game. But listen, folks, the Eagles' offense averages 303.6 yards per game, but the Bears' defense has generated a league-high 24 takeaways this year, but they allow 5.2 yards per carry. Hey there, Saquon Barkley. That big physical Eagles pass rush could cause problems for Caleb Williams. And listen, folks, if the spread was 5.5 or an even 6, I would understand laying the points with the Eagles, but 7.5, my gut feeling says that feels like a lot of points. I say the Eagles win, but I like the Bears to cover plus 7.5. All right. That was part 1 here, and now it's time for part 2 with our regular 6-pack. Early afternoon window. Let's do the Houston Texans against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts 4.5-point favorites at home. The Texans coming off of that win last Thursday night against the Bills, and the Colts coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the league's best defense going up against the league's best offense. Still no C.J. Stroud, as he is still in the league's concussion protocol. The Texans have ripped 3 wins in a row, and somehow they find themselves alive in this AFC playoff race. And by the way, folks, how special has this Texans defense been? I mean, they put Josh Allen in a blender last week, forcing 8 sacks, and through that defense, I mean, they could make things here really, really interesting. Houston is allowing a league-low 264.3 points per game this year, including 92 rushing yards per contest. This is going to be put to the test against a very high-powered and dangerous Colts offense. But, folks, we can't overlook the fact that the Texans are 2-3 on the road, with those 2 wins coming against Tennessee and a Lamar Jackson-less Ravens squad. I think it's close, but because of the number, I'm going to take the 4.5 and roll with the Texans in this matchup. All right, let's do my Carolina Panthers against the Los Angeles Rams. Rams 10.5-point favorites at home. The Rams 10.5-point favorites on the road here. Rams coming off of a win Sunday night against the Bills, and the Panthers coming off of an embarrassing loss to the 49ers on Monday night. The Rams, folks, are the best team in football right now, a team who I believe is going to be the favorite to come out of the NFC and should probably be favored to win the whole dang thing at this point. Matthew Stafford, leader in the clubhouse for MVP. Devontae Adams, a phenomenal season from him, and that defense is just nasty. And the Carolina Panthers, folks, I could go on a full Panthers rant right now. I might make another video on that later, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet and to the point. The Carolina Panthers, folks, play like an undisciplined football team. Our defense is banged up, and along with that, Trevon Moehrig got suspended for that low blow on Jawan Jennings. And folks, listen, I don't trust Bryce Young, and I don't trust the Panthers to make this game competitive. So for the 3rd time this year, I am picking against my own team. I am smashing the Rams minus 10.5 in this matchup here. All right, late afternoon window. Let's do the Minnesota Vikings against the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks 9.5-point favorites in this matchup. Vikings coming off of a loss to the Packers, while the Seahawks coming off of that win against the Tennessee Titans, and I'm still upset about that Titans backdoor cover. But anyway, J.J. McCarthy is in the league's concussion protocol, and if he is a no-go, then the rookie quarterback Max Brosmer, the former Minnesota Golden Gopher, will get the start. And folks, I think the Minnesota Vikings screw up. I think the Minnesota Vikings here screwed up. They let Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones walk. They believe J.J. McCarthy was the guy, and so far he has been terrible. He has been Zach Wilson meets Josh Rosen. And listen, folks, I was not high on J.J. McCarthy coming into the year. He didn't do much at Michigan. He didn't play a down of football last year because of the meniscus injury, and he has been terrible, folks. Meanwhile, Seattle is Seattle, arguably the second best team in the NFL. Sam Darnold played much better last week against the Titans. I'm going to lay the 9.5 here with the Seattle Seahawks. All right, let's do the Buffalo Bills against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo, 3.5-point favorites in this matchup. Bills coming off of a loss last Thursday night against the Texans. Steelers coming off of a loss against the Chicago Bears. Aaron Rodgers, of course, missed last week with the fractured in his wrist, but he is expected to be back this week. And right now, the Bills are 7th in the AFC playoff standings, just barely hanging on to that last playoff spot. And listen, folks, if Buffalo loses this game here, just about any chance of them winning the AFC East goes up in smoke. And Pittsburgh right now is getting walked down in the AFC North as they are tied with the Ravens for first place, and the Bengals, folks, are not too far behind. And of course, pending what happens tomorrow night, Sean McDermott, folks, is 3-1 in his career against Mike Tomlin, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 4 of their last 5 games against teams with winning records. Theoretically, this should be a good game, but I fully anticipate the Bills to come back and play better after getting manhandled last week against the Texans, and along with that, going up against a lackluster Steelers defense. So I'm going to lay the points here, and I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. All right, Sunday nighter, we've got the Denver Broncos going up against the Washington Commanders, and I am surprised that they didn't flex this game out of Sunday Night Football. But anyway, Broncos 6.5-point favorites here. A rematch of Super Bowl 22, both teams coming off of their bye weeks. The Commanders are on a 6-game losing streak. Still no Jaden Daniels, but according to reports, he should be back next week. But the Commanders, folks, have been just plain bad. The Commanders have lost by 20-plus points in 4 of their last 5 games. That defense is an absolute mess, and they have no kind of offense whatsoever. The Broncos are better. They get into a lot of close games, which worries me when picking the spread because they do just enough to win games. It's a little risky here for the reasons I just mentioned, but I'm going to lay the 6.5 here and go with the Broncos. And last but not least, the Monday nighter. We've got the New York Giants taking on the New England Patriots. Patriots 7.5-point favorites in this matchup. Speaking of Super Bowl rematches, this is a rematch of Super Bowls 42 and 46. Patriots coming off of the win against the Bengals, and the Giants coming off of that overtime loss to the Lions, in which after the game, the Giants fired their defensive coordinator Shane Bowen as they have lost 3 straight games by 1 score. And it's sounding like early on Jackson Dart is going to be coming back after missing the last couple of games with a concussion. But if not, Jameis Winston will be getting another crack. And even though they haven't been winning, Jameis Winston football is and has been pretty darn fun to watch. And his stats so far in his 2 starts are pretty Jameis-like. 567 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. I think we're going to see a good helping of offense in this game. But the Patriots, folks, are the better team. Drake May having a phenomenal year, and I just don't trust that Giants defense. 7.5, however, feels like a lot of points for this matchup. So I'm going to take the points here and go with the Giants. I like the Patriots to win, but I'm going to take the Giants to cover. All right, our picks this week, starting with Thanksgiving. We've got the Lions minus 2.5, Cowboys plus 3.5, Bengals plus 6.5, and the Bears plus 7.5. And then our regular six-pack, we've got the Texans plus 4.5, the Rams minus 10.5, Seahawks minus 9.5, Bills minus 3.5, Broncos minus 6.5, and the Giants plus 7.5. Like, comment, subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again. And also follow me on Twitter and on Bluesky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy the football, enjoy the food, and enjoy the time with your family and your friends. And I will see you guys the next time. Peace.